so much more special and intimate. Isabel, well, I'm curious for you as a person, what was your experience with Selena yourself? Were you already a fan coming to this project, I imagine?
Oh yeah. So I'm Mexican, and I came here when I was very little. Woo! I watched the 1997 film, and it was really, truly the first time I felt so deeply seen, and I just connected to that film and to Selena on such a profound level. And since then, Selena has just meant something permanently important to me. And also, the music that the family created has accompanied me in every stage of my life, and in every city I've lived in. And so it's I really feel as if Selena's legacy and her presence and the family's presence has always been there with me. But it wasn't until, we met that I realized she had been in some ways a symbol. And so what was so meaningful to me about this process is that I got to know the family as people, as people that I love, and I really wanted that to come across in the film. I wanted people to kind of get a window into the experience that I had had, that their story was that of a family, and that Selena was not just this kind of such a meaningful symbol, but she was also a sister and a daughter and a wife and a friend and a bandmate. And so that was kind of the guiding principle for the film, was trying to kind of capture that feeling on screen.
And Suzette, I understand you sort of handpicked Isabel for this project yourself?
Yes, actually I did. So I actually had interviewed, I had come to, long story, I'm one of those that just goes left and right, and then I try to hit down the center. But basically, I wanted to be able to do a documentary to truly give light to not just Selena as an artist, but our family and how we are all entwined in creating what we created. And so I reached out to my lawyer, and I got to meet this amazing filmmaker as well, not Isabel, and I liked her. And then I was like, okay, for me it's about vibe, you know what I mean? I'm one of those that like to vibe people. It's not necessarily your resume, but in this woman's, her resume was like, whoa, she's a baddie. She's insane. She is. I mean, Isabel is. We did a Zoom. Not even off the Zoom call. I have her in front of me, and I text my lawyer because he was also on the Zoom call. I said, she's the one. And he goes, are you sure? I said, I'm definitely sure she is the one to tell our story. And she did such an amazing job. And the great thing, I mean, not only does her what she was able to create with our life and with our story, and being able to tell it in such a beautiful way, I walked away with an amazing friend. Like, seriously, like she's an awesome person. So I'm blessed. I'm double blessed, so to speak.
And why was now sort of the right time to show this to the world? Because you have a lot of footage here that I don't think has ever been seen before. I'm not even sure you knew you had it.
No, I knew we had it. No, we call it the vault. I knew we had it. I don't know. Everything after Selena passed, it's done. I know everything in business is financial, right? It's different though for us. This is everything that we did, we did the Selena movie because there was a reason why we had to do it, because they were going to do it anyway. Hollywood basically, we got word was going to do it anyway. Y'all, I'm sure all know that. And that's how the Selena movie happened. This particular project, I thought about it. I was like, I think it's time to be able to share with everyone that is what I consider the new generation of fans, that are older than what back in the day when we were jamming and doing our thing, to be able to tell our story, because with social media, things get blurred. Things, you tell, it's kind of like telling somebody something in their ear, and by the time we get to the fifth person, it's something different. And that's how I view social media. So I felt that it was time to create something to not just showcase the importance of what Selena means to us as a Latino community, what she represents as a baddie. I mean, she's beautiful, she's intelligent, she had such high hopes, she was just an incredible individual with a kind heart. And I wanted not just to showcase that, but to also showcase the inner circle of what made her and what it all, because it was different things that created our band and our music. And that was one of the reasons why I really wanted to be able to leave this behind, which I call it a little nugget of love for the next generation, so they can feed off of it and understand the magnitude of who Selena was and what we created so many years ago.
I mean, one of the things I love about this film is that it is about Selena, but also her family, her band, her culture. Any one of those things would be a lot to cover, but you balance them all so beautifully. How did you sort of manage that balance while always keeping, Selena's legacy at the forefront?
I think for me, the guiding principle was really to try, first and foremost, to try to make something that felt really authentic. Suzette opened up the vault.
Is it an actual vault, or is it
It literally, I mean, it's
It's like a closet, guys. It's a pretty good walk. It's like a walk-in. It's in our offices. We internally call it the vault. It just sounds so much cooler than a closet, right? A storage, basically, of. Go ahead.
just kind of floor to ceiling DVDs and VHSs and beta tapes and yeah, I mean, it feels like a vault. I mean, you walk in and it's just like, I've never had that kind of experience in my career where I was just kind of like really stunned by the magnitude of what had been preserved. And so I felt a lot of responsibility to a lot of different things in making this project. First and foremost, the family, but secondly, just the archive itself. Like, I wanted the archive to kind of be the thing that drove the story. When you make an archival film, when you make a documentary film, there's so many different ways to do it. And for me, I just wanted for the archive to have as much breathing room as possible, and for the family's own story and their words to kind of really be the centerpiece. And so my first priority was just kind of trying to make something as authentic as possible. And so that meant kind of making decisions also that, I see comments online, or I think people go into watching this movie with the expectation that there might be experts, or I really wanted it to feel intimate and personal, and so I wanted the narrative to be from the family's perspective, and the family wanted that as well, and so.
But the family are experts.
They are the biggest experts. That's the thing. It's like, I think sometimes people assume that music docs need to include all these other things, and the people best positioned to tell the story were the people that lived it. And so so that was the other kind of aspect of the kind of the goal for it to be authentic. Another thing that kind of led the creative reasoning behind a lot of the decisions made in the film. But I just, going back to what I was talking about before, I really wanted to try to get to know Selena as a person, because I feel like we know her as a musician and as a symbol, and we have this unbelievable opportunity to get to know her as a person. And so she is, her story is inextricably tied to her family and to her community and to her culture, But getting to know Selena was kind of the biggest guiding force.
And can we, do you even have an estimate as to like how many hours of footage you had? I don't know if you'd ever gone through them or.
You do.
I always forget because the number's so staggering. I mean, it's hundreds. Just for
Daniel was here.
I
He
know.
would totally know.
He's like really the kind of the master of the archive. Our producer Daniel, who was alongside me at every step of this process, unfortunately can't be here because he's in New York. But he would know the answer to that question. But just for context, like we went to Corpus over a dozen times, and each time we went, we stayed for about like a month or so, and we would go into the closet from like
The vault.
The vault.
I'm sorry, I don't.
Put the sweaters aside.
We went from like, when do you guys open Q Productions?
At like 10 in the
10
morning.
a.m. to 5, and then like basically just sat in there cataloging every single thing over the course of 2 years. So it's
So you
just,
really watched it all?
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Why are you not still in the vault? That's amazing.
No, it was an amazing. It was.
There she still is.
My head is, my soul is, my whole will. Yeah. It was a life-changing experience, and it was also very surreal because like it was weird to distinguish real life from kind of living in this kind of depiction of Suzette's depiction of the past, because she filmed a lot of it. She was the one that was holding the camera most of the time.
You're the DP of this movie.
Wait a minute. I didn't hear that. No, I was the annoying sister that was with the camera, and everybody hated me in the van, and then it turned into the bus. I was the one that was like, hey, and I'm so grateful that I did. I wasn't doing it, and never thought in a million years that it would end up where it ended up. It was just me capturing our daily of what we did and being stupid, and I had enough money to buy a video camera. First I went to the big one, the one that just sat right here. It was about this big, and then I got the smaller one, and I just captured stuff. And I think I know this is going off rail. I'm telling you, but the one part of the documentary where Selena's spinning. Where she's spinning and she's like, all I want is a Mercedes Benz. I love that. And I filmed that. But those were the special moments, and I had actually forgot about those moments until, I saw the rough edit for the doc.
I was going to ask, it's one thing as an executive producer and a participant, but as her sister, what was it like to see some of this footage that maybe you hadn't seen since you recorded it?
Given the fact that, Selena's not with us anymore, it made me cry. It hit a chord. It took me back to that moment of my life with her. So it was extremely moving, to take that moment in. And I've had to watch this doc, and I still cry when I watch it. That's why I didn't sit here with you guys, because it still hurts, and it's still moving. But yet at the same time, I'm very proud of what we were able to do and create. Not just about Selena, but with my brother, my bandmates, Ricky, Pete, Chris, Joe. We left something behind that we never really understood. We were just playing just to pay the bills and, get a Mercedes Benz.
Talk about baddies, though. You on those drums. That is like...
No, when she died, I had to really soul search and really step back from life and understand I not only lost her, but I lost my best friend, I lost my sister, and I lost my job, And so it took a lot of soul searching, and it's kind of crazy how life is, because I didn't know what I was going to do. I ended up noticing that Dad kind of needed my help, and I just kind of stuck around the office, and thank God I did, because he mentored me, and I am now been doing it for like the last 10 years. And running things for the last 10 years for our family and for our family business. And I'm so grateful for my father, you know, just like not giving up on me.
Yeah. I mean, there's obviously so much footage, and I know for narrative reasons you can't always include everything. Was there anything that you had to remove that you kind of missed or you'd want the audience to know about, even just like a silly little moment?
Oof, I mean, yeah, working on this film was like agonizing because it's like making decisions about what to keep and what to take out are so difficult. There was like, you know, we had so many, there was so much performance footage, and it was really, really difficult to choose which performances to include and how to edit them. And a lot of performance footage was left on the cutting room floor just because it didn't fit, you know, and this is something this is my first kind of like more my first film was a music doc, but this is a music doc in a more traditional sense, in the sense that like it's incorporating like a history and a story with performance, and it's really difficult because sometimes you have to make decisions about which performances to include because they lend themselves to the narrative and to the story arc of that kind of moment in the story. But I mean, I could just watch the performance footages for like hours.
Can I just share something with y'all? I remember we got a call that she had the first little edit. What do you call it?
Rough cut.
Rough test. Rough
Assembly.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Anyway, so it's Abe, Chris, myself. We come into this theater-looking setting, and we're like, oh, and we sit down, and it was the first 45 minutes of it. I mean, we didn't know what to expect, you know what I mean? It's like, oh, here we go, like, let's, you know, we were all nervous, as you know, Isabel and I have talked about this. And we sat there, and for the first of all, it didn't feel like 45 minutes, it felt like maybe 10 minutes. We were so in it. And then we're like, and then that was it, and it was like, wait, oh my God, like, she was the right one to do this.
Yep.
It felt so good watching it. I remember Abe was in the front row, and his little body popped up like that. And he was like, oh my God, he goes, I felt happy. And Chris said the same thing. We all felt the same thing at the same time. And I was like, I'm so glad Isabel was the one. It was the right choice. It was like, this is definitely the path you need to go and the direction to continue doing it. And then voila, you saw like the whole thing. So thank you, Isabel.
Something I love about the film is how joyous it is. And I love that you chose to open with the 1995 performance at the Astrodome. You did have so much to choose from, though. What was the thinking behind that choice?
Well, it really was a little bit of an homage to the 1997 film, because I just felt like that intro sequence is like just so iconic. And then like the titles come in, and she's walking down, and you know, and so watching the real footage, I was struck by how similar it was, like how it was like the real version of this this thing that had become symbolism. It was like the real version of it. And so there's a whole sequence at the beginning where we're pulling from other moments, but like it's her getting ready and her getting her makeup done. Like I wanted to replicate the experience of getting ready for a big concert, but like showing the real footage. And it was a little bit like, that was another really difficult thing about making this film, was striking a balance between kind of making it for fans and then also introducing the story to new generations and new audiences on like a global scale, which is what's unbelievable about Netflix, you know, is that they provide us that platform, but it also means that like there's a huge gap between the story that, fans really know and love, and then a story that some people are just being introduced to. And so things like that were like little, also kind of, I tried to give the fans things that they could also kind of deeply connect to. And I was like, I feel like fans are going to be excited to recognize this opening, but see the real version of it.
I mean, so many people loved and continue to love Selena. What does it mean to you to share this, such an intimate story with the world? And what does it mean to your family as well?
Well, I feel like we've always been sharing Selena with the world, even since, she was very young. I mean, we started this band when she was 9, I was 12, and Abe was, 16, 17? And so it's been a progression over years. So, am I extremely grateful? Yes, I'm grateful for Netflix understanding this film. The magnitude of, not just represents who Selena was and who we are, but who we are as Latinos, is extremely important. Like what Isabel mentioned, the fact that it is global and we are able to have our other Latino countries take this film in as well. It was extremely important. I'm just humbled, truly humbled by the love and the fact that people still find our music entertaining, singing to Como la Flor and Bidi Bidi Bam Bam and, Amor Prohibido, No Me Queda Más. Wow. I'd like to say it's the drummer, but I definitely don't think it's that. But I'm forever grateful. And having Isabel do this incredible job on putting together this insane documentary to tell our story helps continue this amazing love for our next generation to hopefully feed off of and inspire. Because as you all know, Selena was always about giving back to the community, always inspiring our young ones, and hopefully, and if anything, I hope it inspires our younger generation that it is attainable.
Yeah.
We just got to reach for it.
You say you're grateful. We are so grateful that you picked up the camera all those years ago and that you've just continued to lead the way. I want to thank you both so much for being here. Remind everyone this is on Netflix, so you can watch it all over the world. Thank you for being a great audience.